Well, you guys know how this starts because we're on session 8 out of 10. So here's a little warm up while people are showing up.
Nice.
Debating about whether to put the word suppose on the front of this. So suppose it says suppose. Suppose we can only focus on one guiding question for our 3 remaining sessions. What question should we ask? And we'll give people a few more minutes to trickle in, and then we'll get started. We are getting started as usual here with a quick question. We got 3 sessions left. Suppose we can only focus on one guiding question for the rest of our time together. What could that question be? I'll give you just another minute and then we'll jump in.
Nice.
Like we got just about one for everybody. So that was a little bit less than a minute, but I think it's safe to start. So we open up each session with a check-in round. And just in case you're not sure what to talk about, there's something that you can riff against up here on the screen. So you could do a regular check-in, just share anything you want about how you're showing up. Or if you've got something just right on the tip of your mind that you want to share after looking at these answers, feel free to sprinkle that into your check-in. I'll pass it to Lewis to kick us off, and then you can pass it along.
Oh my days, you caught me with a mouthful. Yeah, I'm really excited for today's session. Actually, I'm really excited for the piece of the pie hackathon, but we'll talk about that later in a sec. But yeah, I'll pass it to Harsha, actually.
I'm doing good. And just like Lewis mentioned, me and Newman have been working really hard to get that going. And finally it is ready. So I feel a bit relieved. And I feel really good about everything that's happening at Gimbalabs. And I'm excited for what we can do here at Andamio. And I will pass it to, Diego.
Hi, everyone. I just completed my first mainnet on-chain assignment on Cardano XP. I was very glad to see all the feedback that you all got on Reddit. So yeah, pretty excited. And I'll pass it on to Nori.
Super glad to be here for edition number 8. And looking forward to hearing what all of you are interested in building with Andamio. Yeah, the protocol's pretty flexible, and I've got a few ideas too, so I'm looking forward to what people share. I'll pass it to you. Hold on, I need to get the participant list up. Who hasn't gone yet? James?
Newman.
Yeah, I'll go. Yep, I'm super stoked about the Piece of Pie hackathon and the other 2 Gimbalabs projects. You know, I really think, you know, just off the top of my head, I'm excited about learning this sort of new way of teaching and learning. You know, I feel like that's a common thread around, and so I'm really excited to sort of get hands-on with this sort of harness and AI agent way of doing it. Yeah, and I think, you know, I feel like it's time. It feels like it's the right time for that sort of thing. And I'll pass it to Ian. Yeah, Ian.
Hello guys. So this week I showed up by, first of all, I started my weekend journey and I'm following through with the Andamio templates. And I really hope to see where this goes because I don't know, no, I don't know. I'm probably the only person in my life I know who writes Python. So it's me in the dark with a torch. I'll pass it on to Adrian.
Hey guys, I'm doing good, and I think I'm the last one, so back to James.
Thanks, guys. So yeah, a lot of food for thought already right here on the screen. Questions we could ask. What do you need to start building something? Why haven't you started? Love that one. What do builders need to go from idea to prototype? How much does AI factor into building on Andamio? Why is an Andamio credential any different from other credentials minted on chain? How can AI change how we teach and learn? And what would you like to build with Andamio? So I kind of sort these in a couple buckets in my head. It looks like, what do you need to start building? And what do builders need? That's like the, how do we make sure people are ready? There's the question of, what do you want to build? And then there's a couple of questions around the AI bucket. And then we've got this one. This is really important for us as a team right now, being able to talk about what's unique about an Andamio credential. So I'd like to come back to these questions at the end of this session. And then next week, we're just going to put the exact same slide up and see if there's any questions we want to add to these. And we'll start by, instead of responding to a new question, we'll take a look at these ones and we'll see how we're doing. Let's jump over to the agenda for today. Here's the repo, as you know. Today's the 8th meeting. And we, that's a deprecated check-in question. Sorry, I didn't push the latest one. But we can ask that one too. Just a couple of updates. A new version of the API went live on mainnet last week. So you now have the latest version, and we've done a lot of work internally to get on a more predictable release cadence. So you can look for that in the API. And we're just professionalizing every week how we handle that. There's a new course that we can look at on Andamio mainnet called Building on Andamio, and that's related to the Andamio Dev repo. There's a couple of experiments that I think some of you have heard about. I've tried to put messages out about these in the Gimbalabs Discord, but these are both built on Andamio, and they're available as example source code that people can look at. And I know that the Cardano Go team is also adopting the Midnight PBL structure. So we'll continue there. And we're able to accept payments once you do build something and you need to upgrade your API tier. All of that's wired up and working. So now we're just excited to give people a reason to need that. Harsha and Newman mentioned that the hackathon is launching at Gimbalabs. Do you guys want to share an announcement about that? And does anybody else have announcements for where we can find action over the next few weeks?
Yeah.
Sure. Do you want to go, Newman? And also,
Go
I
ahead.
think we should mention that anyone building with Andamio should feel free to join the hackathon, because they'll just be getting more incentive to build what they're building anyway.
Yep, and I'm sending the link. I'll bring the link in here really quick. We have a sort of non-hackathon hackathon. It's just a like a motivational tool to build something consistently and share updates over the next 12 weeks. We call it a piece of pie because there are several pies, buckets or pools of funds to help motivate us to build consistently and share updates. So basically how you qualify is you register and then build consistently, sharing updates at least once a week. And then at the end, everybody that's accomplished this will share an equal piece of this pie. Now, there's a couple of other pies. I'm hoping maybe Harsha can explain those.
Sure, absolutely. So one thing I want to extend on what Newman said is that when we say finish building, it means actually finish building, as in it should be out there in the world and it should be payment gated in some way. And once you are there, you'll be getting a share of the builder pie, which is 10,000 data. And then there's another pie for 2,000 data. If you get any real users, if you're able to get any real users and share the evidence of getting those users, you'll get a part of the 2,000 data pie. And on top of that, we have one more pie, which is the feedback pie. So all of these builders are building and they always need feedback. So if you are able to provide feedback to these builders, you'll be getting credits, a maximum of 15 credits each. And then you also have, the feedback givers also have a pie of 1,000 data that they will be splitting. So it's the full life cycle of getting feedback, putting your product out there in the world and getting real users. And we are incentivizing that process. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next step is to register. And you can do that on that link down at the bottom. One interesting thing is that you don't have to be a builder in order to give feedback. You can, there's a link there for a template, and you go to our Discord to sort of find out which builders are asking for feedback. Yeah, so that's what it is in a nutshell. Enrollment ends not this Sunday, but next Sunday. I think it's the 26th. Yeah, the 26th of April will be the last day to register. Once that happens, no more registrations are allowed, and we begin the long march. There's some weird incentives. So the more people that that complete the challenge, the more divisions of the pie. But we're hoping that it's more of a we'll see what that sort of incentive does. But we're hoping that everybody encourages each other to work consistently and share their updates. Hey, I see Nori's got his hand up.
Yeah, just a question. Is there any restrictions on what people do? Does it have to be open source, or
Yes.
does it have to relate to Cardano?
No, not Cardano. It'll have to be open source for the duration of the hackathon. Once you get paid, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
And it should be payment gated. So that's one more rule.
Yeah. There's a series of rules there, but it is more permissive. So it doesn't have to be on Cardano. It doesn't really have to be Web3. We, of course, since we're sort of advertising and promoting it in these sections, we're hoping that it sort of stays in that, but we don't want to put any kind of restrictions on it. We're hoping to expand the user number of people here and sort of getting to know our driver to make these open, replicable, safe spaces to build, learn, and empower to solve problems. So it's more about consistent, and we're hoping that a social thing happens. You can share updates on Twitter, and then we've got a space in the Discord to discuss. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. And so Sebastian and I don't count as real users if we come play with the thing you built.
Yeah. You can give feedback, but as far as the user pie, we don't want friends and family. It has to be sort of a genuine user. Yeah.
Very cool. Any other announcements to share? Ian.
Last week, we were talking about how we can handle handling like the sharing of payments or splitting payments. So I took a deep dive on it, and one thing about Andamio credentials that I came to discover is that they can be more than a course. It can even be a deed of ownership or something. So we can take the direction of how royalty splits happen in music, or like say if we have an apartment with 3 floors and each of us owns a floor, how the ownership is split for the 3. But I don't know how we can go like code it in the protocol.
Amazing. That's an example of a design question that we could just dig into live in this space. So let's come back to that one in just a second. And as I think about these, Ian started to answer this question right here, right? What's different about this kind of credential versus just any other typical one that you could mint? So let's keep the announcements coming if you have more, but I also want to point out the first thing we'll do today is just build the agenda for the next 3 weeks. An example of a great agenda item would be what Ian just shared. He's got a partially formed idea based on a new understanding of how Andamio credentials works, but he's got a design problem that could maybe open up some space and that we could look at together. And we could do a little bit of shared design work, but we could also say, well, does Andamio work out of the box this way, or would I have to change it in some way? That starts to be really interesting. Now, I'm not saying that has to be on the agenda for these next 3 weeks, but it's just an example. So when we look ahead, we've got a little over an hour today. And then we've got 2 more sessions where the goal is to help people get ready to build something real. What else might be on the agenda? We're recording this conversation, so I'll use this. You can just share. Yeah, Diego, what's on your mind?
So let me share something that we discussed on Friday. I really see a lot of potential in here, a lot of potential, right? And I think there's so much wasted energy in the space because the technology is hard to translate for people who are not in it, right? And so James and I were discussing, and I thought, hey, maybe I can put together a session where we all collectively work on improving the product market fit story that we're telling people, right? Why would anyone use Andamio, right? In any and all of its variations, right? The API, or Andamio as the app, or Cardano XP, or whatever, any of and all of the variations. What are the real problems that it could solve? What are the profiles of people who would actually buy a subscription for the API, let's say, or people who would buy, I don't know, time from their development team to actually work with Andamio, and so on and so forth. Obviously, that's just the surface level, right? But I thought, if you're all down for this, we could have a session where we go very deep into product market fit, and we end the session with a clear story for a few different profiles that we all want to target in the future. Does that make sense?
Very much, and thanks for saying that, Diego. Yeah, we had a chance to connect one-on-one last week. And is this a session that you'd be willing to facilitate?
Yeah. I can put something together and send you the outline, and you all can provide feedback before we even sit, just so it's something that sounds useful to go.
So that's an option. Newman shares in the chat, installing Andamio Dev, just a run through of what that looks like and what's there.
Oh,
what else?
but also on Mac with Claude, which I think is what it is, like the base one, but then on Windows with WSL and Codex.
Nice.
Which I think one's super easy, the other one is maybe is a bigger thing. But yeah.
Nice.
I can also share one, which is similar to what I was discussing a couple of days ago with James and Adrian. So the idea is about, this is just a random idea. It's about basically incentivizing people that contribute to open source projects. And I was thinking about our whole like lesson template where students register for a lesson, or a lesson is first minted and students register. If we take away the naming of it, by the end of the day, I feel like it is just a lesson is just a template where someone can provide evidence and someone can approve the evidence. So say there is like, say Dingo, there is an open source project and they want contributors. Now they just open a portal, say, hey, Dingo is minting credentials for their contributors. And now they open this credential portal, which is technically a lesson, but not really. So these users come in, and whenever they contribute, they can actually share like the PR, merged PR or something. And the Dingo, whoever is managing the open source repo, can like approve the credential. So I'm just, there's just another idea that I'm throwing out there. Yeah.
Keep them coming. What else? Well, so a little outline starts to come together. I'm going to edit this directly here in GitHub just by adding a few lines. When I look at how much time we have, I think this one, just displaying the Andamio Dev setup, can fit very quickly today. And then I would propose, Diego, how would you feel about running a product market fit session next week? Because that would leave one more session for us to come back and share ideas from that conversation.
Sounds good. Yeah. Yeah. And I can put an outline together today, share it in the Pioneers channel in the Discord, so that you'll have a chance to look at it and provide feedback, and we improve it together.
Beautiful. So you would share a draft of the agenda in Andamio Discord. When we've all had a chance to give some feedback, I can drop it into this repo. And there we go. We have something to look forward to next week. Nice. Out of a 90-minute session, how much time is right for this segment?
I'd say an hour. Just, I don't want to, hog the whole hour and a half. And yeah.
Can have a typical thing. Yeah. And then
I'm a strong believer that more than 60 minutes is not productive for a deep discussion.
Yeah. So what if we do like a hands-on practical exploration today? We do a product market fit session next week. And then as we finish this program and we all launch into asynchronous work, building stuff kind of in lines with what Gimbalabs has done, we can have this question as one of our launching points, right? How can we build something that incentivizes people to contribute to open source projects? Or when is it appropriate to think about the names of Andamio API endpoints and maybe how they're not telling the whole story? Harsha, I'm paraphrasing, but does that feel good enough?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Anything else before we say, here it is, here's the agenda for today, next week, and the following? I'm going to commit it. Let's do it. All right. So this is nice because we have tooling called Andamio Dev, Newman called it out, that is a bit different from the template as we originally shared it. The template assumes that a web-based app is going to be the only way you're interacting with Andamio. And one of the experiments that's been going on since then is we've been exploring, well, what if you didn't need the web app, right? What if you could interact with the APIs directly? And what if you could take a course through an agent harness interface instead of a web app? And so that's why Andamio Dev came together, and we're going to look at that in just a minute. But before we do, I wanted to just take our moment where we look at feedback. There were no new issues in the Pioneers repo this week, but Diego already mentioned, by just putting one experiment out into the world, we did get some interesting feedback. And so I posted on Reddit about Cardano XP last week, got some different comments on it, and I want to give these a similar treatment to how we look at issues that come into this repo. One user said, oh, the site's broken, I can't even save my work. And what I realized is there was no guard in the XP site to force somebody to have an access token before they could submit an assignment. So people just felt like they were getting stuck. That's the kind of thing that's really useful to find out right away, right? And we can either do that by individually testing or by sharing testing with each other. This person was the first person to make an assignment commitment, and they really tried to break the system. They were like, what can I inject in an access token name? And can I bypass the app UX and build a transaction by hand? This is something we talk about internally to Andamio all the time. Whatever we put in an application UX, that's one thing, but a lot of you here are familiar with Cardano CLI. It's possible to build a transaction that interacts directly with Andamio. Well, if somebody wants to do that, it doesn't really matter what's in the app. They're interacting with Andamio's on-chain validators themselves, which that's the core value we've brought into the world. The app is just 2 layers of abstraction up from that, right? From the on-chain layer, we have an API. And then built on top of that API, we have an app that you can look at. But if we try to, quote unquote, stop you from doing something on the app side, that's really only like a quality of life feature for app users, but it doesn't prevent all transactions from being possible on the blockchain. So it was nice to see, okay, well, yeah, it's possible to mint an access token name that's not allowed in the app itself. Our application side has good security, so we're not hitting vulnerabilities of injection of malicious code. But we need to continue making sure that we've covered every edge case, right? This is something that agents are really helpful for. And it led to some good conversations internally about what we enable, how, and where. Any questions about that? This is really getting us to like, how does Andamio work in the first place, right? With the on-chain layer and then abstraction layers on top of it. Does that raise questions for anybody? Okay. So my favorite comment was just a one-liner. Somebody said, hey, wait, vibe coded app? No way I'm connecting my wallet to that. Good luck. And I'm like, well, actually, very fair. The message I put out there was like, hey, here's an app I built very quickly. The part of the story I forgot to tell is that we spent years at this point building the API. So the reason I could vibe code a little experiment in a weekend is that we are building it on top of an API that's built for this kind of development. And to me, that's a pretty important part of the story to tell. But I realize that probably it's not the right message in Web3 to go out just blind and say, hey, I've vibe coded this thing, connect your wallet to it. I could see why that would be a bad idea. So I'm happy to be thinking about that one. And right here's an example of not only are we testing software, but we're testing messaging. And I think this is going to be a big part of what we talk about next week when we talk product market fit. And then there were just some really nice questions that lead to future concerns. And so I think there's some good raw material for building new experiments based on the questions people had about, hey, could this help at governance? How would it work at scale? What does it mean? You know, like one of the questions we get all the time is, how are you going to resolve the bottleneck of the human reviewer? Which on the one hand is a really important question, but on the other hand, it points to the value that's being created when somebody really does vouch for one of these transactions. So some good raw material there. Any other thoughts on the feedback we received from this experiment? Okay. And it points to just ongoing open questions, right? How do we handle that review at scale, I think is interesting. And maybe that connects back to these incentivization questions or to the naming that Harsha was pointing out. Look, there are certain assets that reviewing them is our most essential work, but maybe they're not all lessons and assignments. Yeah, Harsha.
Oh, I actually am a little late. I wanted to talk about something that you previously mentioned about the important need of like the human reviewer. So I have the question, is the human reviewer the important part, or is the cost the important part, like paying the fee? Which one do you think is the weight for it? Like, you know.
I'll pass it to Adrian.
Yeah, I don't think the human human is the important part. I think the responsibility is the important part. So an agent cannot be, you cannot hold an agent accountable. You need a human for that.
Mm.
Mhm.
So okay, but the agent. So the agent still has to pay a fee to put that out there. That means someone is paying a fee, right? So it must mean something, because they can't do it en masse. They can't like give away 10,000 credentials for free, no? But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the human is the point. I don't know actually. Yeah.
Well, to Adrian's point, if I hand the signing key for my wallet to an agent,
Mhm.
and that agent can issue credentials, am I the responsible party?
I would think so. I mean, at least from my perspective, I would think so. Yeah.
With this agent is tried as an adult. You know, yeah.
I mean, by the end of the day, like it's like the Cardano XP, right? You built it with an agent, but you are still the responsible person behind that application. If something goes wrong, people can still point to you. It's not like an anonymous agent.
Right. And I can actually have an agent read the assignment commitments that come in. And it could even, it could advise me on which ones to accept and deny. Or if I really wanted to be risky, I could hand it a signing key and just automate that. Right. But now people are getting credentials for submitting evidence, and who decided, right? I would argue that I still made the decision to hand off that work. And my intention was to have an agent that would give the same assignment decisions that I would have made.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It seems like the educators are probably having this is like the robo grader, you know, that may even go back to the whole like Scantron, standardized testing, sort of.
Yeah, and Yeah, and the AI these days, I think the AI is doing the testing and debugging and stuff like that. Code Rabbit or something, I can't remember, but yeah, it's
Can
very
review.
similar.
Yeah, we can outsource review of code to an agent.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then to Newman's question about assessment in the first place, right? We're not arguing about like who should grade the multiple choice test, right? If you have a Scantron sheet and you filled in the little bubbles with your pencil, nobody's going to argue that humans should check those boxes by hand. What the question really becomes about is what is the assessment in the first place? Because if a human is available to assess, it opens up a different category of assessments that could be used in the first place. Does that make some sense?
Right. So the structured data assessments, if you can structure it, then it can be automated. It used to be that way, but now you can have unstructured stuff.
No, but by the end of the day, like we wouldn't know whether it's an AI agent that did it or if it's like a human that did it. Like it's just on chain. You just see on chain stuff, but you're not like evaluating. I mean, how would you even know if it's an agent or a human?
Oh, this credential was earned, right? And it unlocks value. So now this gives us a different answer to this question, right? How is this credential any different? Well, when a credential is first created, it holds no authority. Right? What's the value of the sustain and maintain Gimbalabs credential?
It opens the door.
Right? One day we just made it, right? And we decided, okay, well, this credential opens the door to sustain and maintain project, right? But at this point, I would argue that the course credential itself has more value than when we first created it.
Correct.
Because, right, months later, a certain number of people hold it, and those people have made a certain number of contributions.
Correct.
We start to be able to say, oh, well, the value of this credential, as shown here, is that these holders went on to make this level of contribution. Ian, what do you think?
Going back to the question on whether it matters if it's an AI agent or a human that grades the credential. On that, me, I think the value in that is the number of man hours you save, because teachers normally they have a lot of workload, and it's like when you talk to them, you come to realize that it's a detriment to their personal lives. By extension, this is professional life extending into personal life. So if we can help them push their agenda or their motive, like educate children or impact or give someone a certain skill in a way that they are not there, but in ways that they need to be present. Like you're not saying that because we are giving credentials through the blockchain now, we do not need teachers, we can use robots. It's like they can even go 50-50. So that's the value of the credential from my point of view.
I love it. And it's not about how much busy work went into it. It's not about just the fact that humans spend hours. Are we getting the result? So that remains an open question, and there's stuff we can play with there. And we don't know if this is part of finding product market fit. I think there are unresolved questions that are coming at us a mile a minute right now. And there are some that might be worth paying attention to, but I really don't know. And so it's timely to be having this conversation and just wondering what's possible. I'm excited for next week. Yeah, Diego.
I think this is a very interesting question, and it touches on something that I keep thinking about, which is, if we only think about Andamio, okay? If we only think about Andamio, there's like at least, I don't know, 4 products. The protocol is one product for some people that need to solve a very specific problem. The CLI tool is a product for some other people who need to solve another problem, right? The Andamio app is another tool or product that solves something for other people. So I think it's worth keeping this question open every time we think about an actual product that solves something very specific. Because the question about who's the reviewer and what's the quality of the review, and therefore what is the quality or the trust you can put on a credential, right, depends on the type of project, right? It's different if I'm putting a course where the reviewer is a human that needs to go through a rubric, let's say, and really look at the detail, versus maybe on Cardano XP, you have an agent that goes through bug reports and they say like, okay, take a look at this one, at this one, at this one. This one seems to be just a bot, and so on and so forth. And I think it's worth considering what are the incentives for each application.
Yes. So that's food for thought to be continued. I could definitely rip on that right now. I'm gonna save that as something that we're all thinking about in the back of our minds, and then we have a focused chance to really dig into that. But I agree, there are several different and not exactly complementary products, right? It's confusing to look at them all at the same time, and we definitely need to zoom in on what story are we telling in the very near term, to get a little bit of adoption. So knowing that's on the way, I wanted to take a moment to just demo getting started as Newman suggested. I can do like the happy path. I happen to be working from a Mac right now and I have Claude installed. And what I was thinking is I can just show you the fresh install very quickly, show you the happy case and where you could pick it up if you have these tools. And then Newman, once we have that happy path in mind, do you want to give it a try by sharing screen, by using Windows and Codex, and see if we can get it working the same way?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Let's try that. Okay, so I'll try to move very quickly here. Let me go first, and I'll add a link to this agenda. I should have just put it right here. But I'll show you. This is the public repo for Andamio Dev.
Okay.
That goes here in the chat.
Yep.
It has a corresponding course already hosted on Andamio mainnet. Here's what the course looks like. I'm not signed in, but this page should load. There we go. Okay, build on Andamio. There's 7 modules, each of which has 4 or so learning targets, 4 or 5. And anybody can just jump right in and read the lessons directly through this platform, no problem.
Okay.
Right? But the other way to interact with this content is just directly through this repo. And you'll see the repo has a courses directory with the Build on Andamio course that has all of the same lesson content. So whether you want to view it here or at Andamio app, it's the same thing. Now, Once you have Andamio CLI installed, and this would be a fun exercise for anybody who wants to try to get this to work. But once you have Andamio CLI, you don't even need the content directly from this repo. It can just be imported if you want to do it that way. But I'll save that as kind of a bonus exploration for people who want to figure that out. For now, the content is right here. And what that means is I can clone this repo so I can interact with it locally. And that's what I'll do. I'm just going to do this. I have this already locally, but I'm just going to do it in a new directory. So we can see what a fresh install would look like. I'll cd in. So I've git cloned. I'm jumping into that new directory. And then I'm just going to open Claude. I'm going to say, yes, I trust it. And then all you really have to do to get started is the /learn command. This is the entry point for this whole set of skills. And we'll just see what the happy path looks like here. And this is what we're going to try to get Newman to replicate in just a moment. And while that's working, okay, so what it does is it creates a new JSON file that's git ignored, and it's going to save my progress locally in just on my computer, right? This is to be public.
And that looks very familiar.
Yeah.
So that looks like a credential. That looks like an Andamio credential.
Right. Now I don't have to share it with anybody, right? And where we're not yet connecting the dots is, okay, well, if the agent says you finished this thing, can you get a credential for that? That's an unresolved question. This is just step one, right? So yeah, if you want to earn that credential, go to the website. Or if you just want an agent to tell you if you understand those things, just do it right here and it'll keep track for you in a private JSON file.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and create that. All right, the next time I run learn, it will look for that file, it'll find it, and it'll pick up where I left off. First run is detected. Progress is initialized. We're starting with lesson 100.1. And now it's invoking the agent that delivers a lesson, right? We have a skill called deliver lesson. And it's taking some time to load that into context and to load the lesson itself into context.
Okay.
This is good to know that this is time consuming, and it consumed just over 1,000 tokens. Not bad there, but worth paying attention to.
Is that, yeah. That's not bad. I've not yet sort of gotten into the whole like, oh, this is expensive tokens and etc.
Right. Yeah, we can work on optimizing if we realize that's a problem for sure.
Okay.
Right. But now here's the UX. Instead of reading this on a web page, I see conversationally pretty much the same content as the lesson. And then to move on, it asks me to think about something, reply when I'm ready. And when it thinks that I have demonstrated my understanding of that lesson, the agent will let me progress to the next one.
And then what does it say? It says, classify each credential as completion-centered, test-gated, contribution-centered, and say what distinguishes it. 1, complete the 12-week advanced Python bootcamp at Tech Academy. So it's testing you. It's saying which one of these is completion-centered, which one is test-gated. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I could give answers, or I could say, I don't get it, right? Because I'm working with an agent, I can say whatever I want here. And one of one of the rewarding outcomes testing this kind of system for me was when I was working on the Midnight course. I was like asking the agent to confirm over and over again, wait, are you saying that this is really how Midnight works? And it was like, no, not exactly. It's more like this. I was like, well, then update the lesson, you know? And now it's not just about getting the content, but if you, as anybody who's coming new to Andamio here asks questions like that, wait a minute, am I getting this right? Are you saying it works like this? And they say, well, the lesson doesn't say that. That's priceless feedback.
Absolutely.
We can feed that right back in as an issue to this repo and then improve the document just by people using it and saying, hey, that doesn't make sense yet.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, in my mind, that's a big thing. That follows our compounding, you know, like as we use it, it gets better. That as we use it, the more people that use it, it's like an economy of scale. There's a lot that I love about that, for sure. And that's baked in.
It's baked in, and now go back to how the credential is defined in the first place as a set of learning targets, right? We talked about I can, we talked about who's I in this case, right? Am I testing that the repo can give me the knowledge? So does it apply to the agent? Does it apply to me? Does it apply to us working together? But at the end of the day, language written that way is clear to an agent. Oh, these are the I can statements, right? So no matter what, we can argue about the content of a lesson, but we already have the contract baked in. This is what the credential says. So this is what we're accountable to.
Right, right.
All right, well, that's the happy case. Do you want to see if you can do the same?
I would love to, yeah. I'm just making a note, accountable to. That's beautiful. Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen. I'm going to share the whole screen. Screen 2. Yes. Oh. Okay, so not this one. This one. Okay, guys, you can see it. So here we are, Andamio Dev. Just like what you did. Oh, I may have already messed with this. Let's look at if I've got any.
That's awesome. You're editing the lessons in real time. That's the dream.
Well, yes, and what did I do? This is you, this is you, this is also you. So that does not look like there's any changes that I've done. I feel comfortable to sync these changes. That's going to grab these. So now the main and the remote, local and remote are together. I don't know what this is. Did I throw these away? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you just have to pull the latest. That's all.
Yeah. But this is all now the thing. Now, I know a little bit about so basically all I've done here is started up a codex. Looks like there's an update, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. In codex, there's a skills, like it should look and see where it should find these skills. Okay. And what I'm trying to do is take this course, or is it in the README? Hold up. You know, and one thing that I've been doing, I just can't read these markdown files. Just drive me crazy when I'm reading them on this code. It just drives me nuts. So I'm gonna open this guy, and go to this. Okay. So here's the course. So basically, this is a course, Andamio Dev course, and this one is actually, let me put this in my. I hope this is good content for you all. Here's this. Okay. So we could do it here, like you were saying. You could do it here. But this whole idea of being able to feed back to the course and be able to answer questions, because how I would do this in the past would be, I would take this, I would do the lesson, I would ask an agent if they could read this. If they couldn't, I would copy all this down, and it would be a real gobbledygook. So what I'm hoping here is that I can ask my agent, can you understand this Claude based skills in the repo? And I've done this somewhere before, and we've gone through this, and it's taken me down a bit of a whole, like, learning how this open open skills up here, like in the codex, uses how they do skills. So it may be that there's some work to be done, and we could create a, here's how you do it with codex, which I think maybe we're doing right now. One thing I don't like about this, well, I guess it is word wrapping. Okay. It's saying it's inspecting, it found 10 skills. Also references a course delivery harness and a learn skill that are not in the visible skill lists. So I'm checking hidden plugin Claude files. Okay. Yeah, that was one thing that I saw, like, not in the skills folder. That learn one was somewhere else. So it was probably down in this Claude. Yeah, right there. So start is the one. This is the teaching layer for the Build on Cardano course. Learn is the orchestrator. Deliver lesson is used by the instructor agent. Assess is used by the assessor agent. Progress is tracked in the progress.json using the schema. Which this is blowing my mind. I think that's really cool with this whole, like, learning log, or some way to, like, document, like, how you're learning, and that's valuable. Course content itself lives on courses built on Andamio. Let me look at that. Yeah, so just these I've seen before. This sort of seems like a Andamio protocol pattern. This 001.
Yeah, those are the coach artifacts.
Okay.
From the coach plugin.
Okay. And then this I'm imagining is a lesson assignments. M module 100, and then SLT with a what they call it, slugified name. Okay. Okay. Course content build. I did not change any files. I did notice the work tree already has modified untracked state. README is modified and codex is untracked. What should my prompt be? Okay, I'd like to run the learn skill.
Yeah, see if, just because I'm curious, can you see if it picks it up just with /learn?
So yeah, I think I've tried that. I don't,
Okay.
I mean, let's do it.
Right, it doesn't see it there. Good. That's the limitation. But what happens if you say it just in the sentence you were about to type?
Well, there is this guy, so check this out. So this is this documentation, like how you do skills in this open codex skill, or this sort of open protocol for skills, is this $ and then a skill name. And so, like, check this out.
And can you check one more thing for me?
Yeah.
Can you try one of the skills that's not in the .claude file and see if that one appears automatically?
Yeah, let's look. So here is like auth setup. So if I do, so here it's telling me all the things that it finds. Maybe that's something, but let's just, yeah.
Right.
But this is how Claude, or this is how Codex uses skills. So it's got, so it does have assess SLTs, classify lesson types. And that seems like they come from somewhere.
Yeah, that's because you installed Coach maybe globally. And so now it does recognize those.
Oh, perhaps. Yeah. Harsha sometimes drives me around like, you know, like what do we call it? Pair coding sometimes. And we've done that. And I'm not exactly, Harsha, does that seems like we're working on maybe the Cardano Go. I think we were doing Go with the Coach. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would do is just like the link that you showed me, just like put it in there and say, hey, adapt this so that you can use the skills, and then it'll do it itself.
What do you think? I mean, I could do that, yeah. But I mean, just using, it's like, I'd like to use these Claude skills. Can you show me how to do that, please?
Ask it to do it. Don't show. You
Oh,
don't
okay,
have
can
to
you do that? For reference, give it the reference. Docs. I mean, would it know its own? Does it get access to its own manual? Pretty wild to think about. Okay, here we go.
Check the internet.
Let's see. But I think this is doable. I mean, because it's not, you know, brain, what is it, rocket surgery.
And
Yeah, rocket surgery. I agree. It's not rocket surgery.
Not rocket surgery. The shirts. Just to give you background on why these files are in different places, the top level skills file with auth setup, for example, that should be following the agent skills standard. And if it's not recognized by Codex, that's something I really want to look at. And then the other ones, just the actual learning part, is packaged separate from that. It can be moved out to a top level skill. But one of the goals for this repo is to publish the skills in that top level skills directory, just like, so you can install it just like you can install Coach and get this support just system wide. So that's why there's the two separate directories for now, because they're serving two different purposes.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right, but you got a prompt here. What does it ask you?
Yeah, what does it say? It says, I'm going to add a codex facing .agent skill. So it added this that points at the existing skill folders. Yes, it feels like I've done this on my other adventures. Allow creating repository local symlinks so Codex can discover the existing agent skills without duplicating files. Yeah, Even though I do not have confidence that I can create symlinks, every time I've tried to do this, has not really worked out well. Yes. Oh, look at that. Little symlink, guys. Yes, I wired the existing skills, verified the symlinks, should be able to invoke them in codecs with start or so using the codecs sort of thing. One caveat, the operational skills should map cleanly. The course/learn skill is more Claude specific because it references Claude sub-agent types and .claude agents. Codecs can still read it as a skill, but a proper codecs native port would need a small adaptation pass for instructor assessor handoff model. Does that ring a bell?
It's not surprising. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Here you go.
Sorry, guys. Does that mean that an orchestrator works differently in Codex and Claude? Like, that's what I'm understanding by reading this, right?
It looks like, yeah, because both Codex and Claude are a harness application, right?
Mhm.
And they both have different business logic inside, like
Mhm.
what are the conventions of where to look for this type of relationship, I guess. It would be nice if they shared a convention. And I think agent skills is a step in that direction. But clearly there's some implementation details here that are not similar.
Yeah. Yeah. In the couple experiments I've done with like very, very small models, the usual suggestion is to have like an orchestrator in the top directory, and it's just a Python file. And that basically, but there has to be a better way to create that like top down, here's where you start, use these skills if, when, etc.
All right. So we're kind of at a fork in the road. I kind of want to investigate these operational skills just to see what they look like. So do at this start. But then because I also don't, I want the cool stuff. And I mean, I could just install Claude.
Start has some cool stuff. Let's just see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, it says no matches. What's up? Wait a minute. Huh.
Do you need to reload Codex for its updates to take effect?
Let's try it. Let's try it. How do I get out of here?
Open a new terminal and open Codex there instead of getting out.
Okay, okay. We'll skip. Okay. Ah, good call. All right. See, that's the kind of thing that would freak me out. Okay. Okay, this plugin helps you build on the Andamio protocol. Okay, bundles, API. I checked your local setup. CLI is installed. Andamio Dev. Environment is pre-prod. API key is not configured. Wallet user JWT. What's that stand for? Java Web Token, maybe? Not authenticated. What are you working on? First time here, walk me through what Andamio is and how this tool chain works, exploring, understand the protocol, browse the API, learn the transaction model, build and create courses, manage projects, run. Let's build. Or what do you think? What should we
Build.
Build, buddy. Yeah, I like it. Choose building mode. This is a text adventure. FYI, in case you were following along at home. So we'll use the operational prowess. Since the CLI is installed, but no API key or wallet session is configured, I'm routing through auth setup first. I'm checking the remaining auth sources now. Environmental variables in the local CLI config tells us whether setup is truly missing or just not picked up by the status. Yeah, so it's saying this is not stored in the environment. Looking at our config JSON, there's nothing there. There's no Andamio office method. Does not exist. CLI is pointed at pre-prod, which is the right default. For building, you need to read, write, access API key plus wallet JWT. Okay, do I have my API key? Pull this off. You guys can't see this, right?
Correct.
So did I write it down like a good documentarian? I would have put it in that first meeting. I don't see it. Oh, I do have it. Aha, I do have it. I have an API key, and that is it. I don't have a... Okay. Send it as ANT. I'll avoid printing the full value back. Should I just expose this API key for the moment and then just...
So this is up to you, but best practice here would be off screen. You can use Andamio auth login, right? Just like that command says.
Okay, let me do it.
Yeah. And that's in a terminal window, not in a codec session, right?
Ah, very, very important. Yes. Okay. So I'll just do that here. I'll create another terminal session, and then I'll run that. Run that thing. What? Okay. No undo on the man line.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that. Nice. Okay, so my Andamio command is working. I'm gonna close this terminal and then come back for you guys to see. Okay. So can I just do user login, user status now?
Yeah, those ones won't expose anything. But before you run user login, make sure that your whatever web browser is currently open is the one where you have your pre-prod wallet.
Okay. So let me get over to pre-prod. Yeah, here. Unfortunately, it's not my default browser, so that may cause us some issues.
Yeah, this is going to try to open up your default browser to sign.
I can, you know what? I'll just do it in my default browser. I can do that. This is here. That's not it. Okay, this is my default browser. So if I go to Andamio.
If you go to preprod.app.andamio, you'd want to be able to log into that. And you don't have to log in at this time because the Andamio user login will prompt you to sign in.
Okay. Now that I think about this, I don't really have a wallet over here on this browser.
That's okay. So save this for an exploration, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously it's time consuming to make sure that you have the keys you want for the things you
Right.
want to do.
Right.
But how about this? Now that you have an API key set up, you could ask the agent a question like, are there any queries I can make without logging in?
Okay.
So now you have an API key, but you didn't log in with a wallet. So you're not going to be able to view specific courses in studio mode, right? You can't submit an assessment. You can't build a new course module. But there are some public endpoints that let's see if it
See if it
recognizes.
picks it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, look, no wallet, but the API key configure, you can do most public read queries. Yeah, okay.
Right. So just try that first one.
Yeah. And not, see, because not here. Let's do it here. Look at that.
Okay, so you're great. You're getting data from the API.
Nice. So, okay. So how, and I know that we're running out of time, but how does, I guess, are we still, like, if I wanted to make a new course, would I do it inside of here and create a course here? Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to ask the agent. Don't say anything. Shh. Here we go. Okay. Oh, it's going to say I have to log in, of course. Strongly include all initial teachers at creation time. Adding teachers later is a separate Cardano transaction. Oh, it's thinking of my wallet balance. Nice, thank you.
Not really. It doesn't save you anything. That's funny.
Using course ops, because creating a course is a course lifecycle operation. I'll check the workflow so I can give you the exact path from your current authenticated state. Yes, you can create a new course from here, but not until auth is configured. Creating a course is an on-chain operation, so it requires the API key and this wallet JWT, which is what I'm gonna figure. Preprod ADA for the transaction, Andamio alias as the course owner teacher. The course creation changes is roughly 130 ADA pre T ADA. And then this is the exact post. Wow, that's great. Alias, my alias teacher alias. Okay. Then send me this. Okay, so I have to log in, but this gets me to where what I wanted out of this session. And thank you all. Thanks for if anybody's still listening. feel like I may go back in where we were, you know, at that fork in the road, where it was like, do you want to like go and redo it for I guess it was here where we said we can rebuild it for Codex.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be, I mean, is that something that can do? Because I did create a new branch anyway here. So
Yeah. So can we all talk homework for just a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, Newman, if you're interested and you want to put in a PR to Andamio Dev with like a single document that shows people how to use this repo if they're using Codex,
okay,
we could just include that as a script and make it really easy for people to set that up.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to ask the agent to do this. It's like, hey, based on what we've just talked about.
A one-page doc. Yeah. And then throw it in as a PR if it's helpful. Can you do me one more favor? In the window that we reopened, where after the start skill had loaded, can you see if the learn skill is also available?
So here's the start. So I'll go down. Okay. And then, yeah.
Great. Okay. So it was able to draw from both. That's great. Remember, learn is the one that's going to take you just through the course content step by step. And then everything that's in the top level skills repo, like start, is going to really it's not going to try to guide you in a lesson format. It's just going to hold your hand and do whatever you ask it to try to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So either approach, right? I just want everybody to know that you can try both approaches, see what works the best.
Nice.
One thing for people to try, see if you can get this thing running with the agent of your choice. And then we didn't see the login step here. So we saw the command on Newman's screen, Andamio user login. By default, that's going to open up a web browser where you can sign with your wallet. But if you also want to take experimentation a step further, it's possible to authenticate to Andamio CLI using the same kind of key pair that Cardano CLI creates. So if you don't want to touch a web browser at all, I think it's kind of a fun exploration, especially on pre-prod. Don't do this on mainnet until you know what's happening.
Sure.
On pre-prod, trying to get Andamio CLI with all of the credentials and the signing key it needs is a really nice way to learn what's possible and to imagine some systems. So I would give that a try if you need an extension.
Okay. All right. Yep. And then this seems to be getting us to where we were before. So yeah, I feel like that was a success. This is an example of how to get this running on Codex.
It happened. Nice.
Yeah.
Documentation coming soon.
Yeah.
Thanks. Brilliant.
Stuff.
Harsha, Ian, Nori, Adrian, Sebastian, Diego, what are you thinking after seeing Newman's demo?
I mean, it seems pretty reasonably easy. At least Newman made it feel reasonably easy, so I feel like I can do it.
Ian, yeah.
I'm looking at the possibilities for the students in my app, where they can now, like, they have a double where they chat with them, ask them questions, and like set up an Anki board, because it's a lot of stress setting it up manually.
Beautiful. I'm excited to see what ideas people keep having, right? This is an early stage kind of clunky demo right now. But as we all start to play with it, we'll make it easier and easier to get going with, and I'm excited to compare notes. We got a minute left. Let's do a lightning checkout round. I'll pass it to Ian first.
It's been great meeting with you. Another new week, and hope to see you guys tomorrow. And before I leave, I saw a tweet this past week where someone said that they can't quite remember the wording, but the idea behind it, they were saying that they did something using Andamio, and they claimed that Andamio have some non-Haskell nodes. Could you even elaborate on that? Because I was left hanging.
Andamio has, you said Haskell nodes?
Non-Haskell.
Oh.
Yeah.
We can go a little deeper into the source code when there's more time. But yeah, Andamio has both Haskell and Go services running under the hood. And it's written in 2 different on-chain languages, Plutus and Aiken. But yeah, let's follow up on that. I know that we're right at time right now. Passing it over to Newman.
Yep, I'm feeling good. I know more about the agents. It's got exactly what I wanted out of the session. Thanks everybody. How about Harsha? Oh,
No,
and
I
come
had
and
fun
visit.
too.
Yeah, come and visit us at the hackathon.
Yeah, same. I also had fun, and I'm ready. I mean, by the next 2 weeks, I should be ready to start building something. So yeah, let's see. And I will pass it to Adrian.
You might be getting some lunch or dinner. About Diego.
That was wonderful. That was really great. It's great to see it in action. It's great to see that you've built enough support so that you're not starting from scratch with a blank page, and you have some harnesses, pun intended, to help you out. And excited for next week.
You're here. And Nori.
Really enjoyed watching Newman work through that, and have a really live example for working through some stuff. So that was cool. So thank you, Newman. And really excited for this group to continue to get together, and all the stuff that's coming out of this. So many ideas to follow up on.
You're here. Yeah, Newman, thanks for the live demo. Thanks everybody for jumping in. And I'm really excited for next week. We'll talk product market fit. Diego, thanks so much for offering to do that. And then we'll close it out in 2 weeks with some implementation ideas following the big picture thinking next week. Be in touch with questions. As this program winds down, the Andamio Discord will wind up as our hub for just talking about what we're doing over the next few months. So see you there if you're watching this video later. And thanks for being here, everybody. See you soon.